mission, should you choose to accept it.
It's a quest. It's a quest for fun.
Well, The Rock says, why don't we just cut right to the chase?
Okay, now he wants to get together. Well, he wants to talk.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
It's showtime, folks!
What are you?
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to And I Quote, the weekly show. We introduce you to content creators of all shapes and sizes, joining us from any and all corners of the nerd universe. We find out more about them and what plans they have for the future that are going to impact the world. I am your host, Ryan of Neuroculture, and joining us this week is comic book writer of Beyond Time Comics. Please welcome John Hervey. John, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Man, I'm doing great, Ryan. Thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, thanks for being with us. We do appreciate it. And by the way, if you are watching this and if you have any questions for John during any portion of this show, leave us a comment in the chat, in the comment section below. Yes. We're going to get to those questions as we go throughout the course of the program. But in the meantime, John, to kick things off, how were you introduced to the world of comics? Okay, so, I mean, you were saying that when backstage, you were telling me how you were kind of a kid of the 90s, born in the 80s. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm an older guy. I was a kid of the 80s, born in the 70s. So when I was introduced to comics, basically the cartoons that were on were like the Super Friends. They were showing the old Spider-Man cartoon, you know, Spider-Man. They were showing that cartoon on TV. There weren't really, the direct market really hadn't formed yet. So I would go with my mom to the drugstore or to 7-Eleven, and they had spinner racks. 7-Eleven had a spinner rack. The drugstore that my mom used to go to had a spinner rack, and then it expanded to 2. And that was amazing. Like 2 spinner racks full of comics. You're just like, oh my goodness, you know. Mom will get me like 1, maybe 2 books if it's like a good day. So I would, she would be doing what she's doing, and I would sit on the stairs because kind of the way that the pharmacy was configured was, it was like you had the pharmacy, and then like a few stairs, and then they had like the area with the gifts, and that included like the comics. So I would kind of sit on the stairs, and I would pull books off I have to figure out which book I'm going to read, and I wasn't as versed in the universe of comics. So, I mean, I knew the heroes from the Super Friends. So I knew Superman, I knew Wonder Woman, I knew Batman, I knew Spider-Man. And Marvel also had like this old animatic cartoon from the 60s where they had like Iron Man and the Hulk and Thor. So I knew those characters. So I was like, so those would be the books that I would pick up most of the time because I knew those characters. But I didn't even know that. I thought the books were just, this is an off, the cartoons are what started it. But then I learned, no, there's a whole rich history here of books. And quite frankly, I think my mom even said it when I was younger. I mean, because she would like, her friends would be like, why do you let your son read comics? And she's like, he probably wouldn't read, at least at a young age. I wouldn't have been reading if it weren't for comics, Wow.
So yeah, so I have a long relationship with comic books, and I love them.
Well, that is just splendid. And by the way, if you are watching this, make sure you share this with all 500 of your closest friends. They're going to like the way they look after watching our videos. I guarantee it. So kind of to go along with that comic book universe here, John, what would you say were some of your favorite comic book writers or maybe artists growing up?
So I'd say some of my favorite creators, I really enjoyed the Wolfman-Perez combination. They did a lot of great work. They did great work on after the original Crisis, and that was the best. I mean, if people have not read that 12-issue Crisis series, I'm sure you can get it in a graphic novel now. Do yourself a favor and pick that up. And then subsequently, they did Wonder Woman. They basically did a revamp of Wonder Woman, and that's my favorite Wonder Woman. That is my favorite Wonder Woman. But also they did awesome work on New Teen Titans together. So they did a lot of great work together. I think another
artist writer that I really loved his work was John Byrne. John Byrne worked. He did. So I know you're a Superman guy. So I think some of my favorite Superman stories, like Man of Steel. So that was also after the Crisis, and they kind of did the original reboot of the universe. I think Man of Steel was amazing. Just a great way, and it really, without getting too deep, without getting like metachlorines deep or something like that, it did a good job of really kind of giving you I think a perspective on Superman, how he makes it through a day when if he accidentally sneezes the wrong way, he could like destroy a building. So they set really good parameters around the character, and I think a lot of great humanity around Superman, which I think sometimes is like they miss that now, like with his character. I think it's what makes Superman who he is. So I love Byrne's work. I love his work. Actually, what got me into comics originally. So I was reading comics. I was picking them up, and then on the I think it was, I want to say it was Avengers 182. I didn't really know who the Avengers were. I saw the cover, but I recognized Iron Man. There was the Beast on there. This was, I think, the first issue with Miss Marvel. And actually what happened was it was a giant Crusher Creel was on the cover, and he's on a barge, and he's holding Miss Marvel like he's King Kong.
Oh, wow.
And the Avengers, and I'm like, there's the Beast there, but he was blue, so I was a little bit confused. But but I picked up the book, and I absolutely fell in love with the story. It was great. Dave Michelini was the one that wrote it. John Byrne did the art, and I became a big just a fan of the Avengers at that point. So I was collecting Avengers. Another buddy of mine, he was collecting the X-Men, and we would just kind of collect the books, and then we would read each other's stash. And another good buddy of mine, he was a big Daredevil guy. So I remember it's like seminal moments. I remember going to his house, and he's like, "You have to read." He had the Miller Run.
Oh,
he's like, "You have to read this." And I wasn't a Daredevil guy. I'm like, I don't know. I don't really care about Daredevil. Some street level, blah blah blah. And man, that was amazing. I mean, I remember just sitting there, and I could still. It was so visceral. The emotions I had as I was reading it as a kid, and then you're watching Elektra trying to crawl to Matt Murdock's loft, and I was just like, oh my goodness, this is what it's about. So I really fell in love with comics.
Oh my goodness, some great stories with featuring great characters from all different sides of the comic book universe respectively. What would you say are some of your favorite comic book movies or TV series, whether they be past or present?
Okay, so it's funny, my wife and I, we've been married for 16 years now.
Congrats.
When we first started dating, we would watch together over the phone. We would watch Smallville.
What?
And we would watch. We started off watching Dark Angel, but there was only like 2 seasons of Dark Angel.
Yeah.
But we watched Smallville, and so it's like we dated, we got engaged, we got married. So it's like when the 10 seasons of Smallville ended, you almost felt like you almost feel like, oh my goodness, it's like you lost somebody. It's like this has been a part of our relationship, like from the get-go.
From the get, yeah.
Yeah. So
oh my gosh, that's awesome.
So that was one of my favorite shows. I think in terms of the movies, so in terms of animated movies, I think I've absolutely loved kind of DC's run with the different Justice League members. Definitely the best animated stuff out there, I think, in the superhero realm. In terms of movies, I've really enjoyed the first kind of few. I don't know. I forgot what they call them. They don't call them arcs, but the first few rounds of Marvel movies.
Oh, you mean Marvel, the MCU phase 1?
Yeah, the MCU, okay. The first few phases. That basically the first, 10 years? Is it?
It's been around for over 10 years, but yeah, the early films, started out as Iron Man, The Incredible Hulk, Thor, Iron Man 2, and Captain America: The First Avenger, and then that led into the Avengers. Sorry, I'm giving you all a history lesson, but those movies were kind of a big deal back then, and some of them
Yes.
still are today. So
They
so
were.
yeah,
They were a huge deal.
you're referring to the early stages of Marvel.
Yes, exactly. I'm referring to the early stages.
Sure.
And I'll go a little bit earlier because I think that what really laid the groundwork for those films, I mean, Blade laid the groundwork for that. I
Oh.
mean, that was amazing.
Great way to introduce a character during the club scene.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, that's how you make an entrance without even making it. You're just standing there in your pose, waiting for everybody to clear out. Pulls out his blade, draws the circle. It's like, yep, you're about to get sliced and diced.
Exactly, and it's about to go down, and it did.
Mhm.
I mean,
good film.
I loved it. I enjoyed the first 2 Blade films tremendously.
Yeah.
I think, of course, I mean, if you want to, the movie that started it all was Christopher Reeve's Superman, and I saw that in a theater.
Ooh.
And I know you can look at it now and be like, oh, well, the special effects. Let me tell you, that was the movie of the year. I mean, seeing that was amazing. I can still remember kind of the buildup of the film, and then when Lois Lane was in the helicopter, and the helicopter is about to fall, and Superman flies for the first time to catch the helicopter. I mean, like, I can't even put it into words. It was like kind of the same feeling that I had the first time I watched Star Wars in the theater, and Luke Skywalker used the Force, to get that 1 in a million shot to destroy the Death Star. I mean, it was because, like, we definitely didn't have the proliferation of media like we have now. So it's like we didn't have spoilers. You didn't have
the internet.
No one saw Christopher Reeve flying as Superman before the movie came out.
Right.
So it wasn't like, oh yeah, I saw these clips from the movie.
Yeah, there was no internet back then, no Twitter, no social media atmosphere that we have now. So yeah, I hear what you're saying.
No, I mean, you went to the movie, and then when he did that, man, just like the hair on the back of your neck just stands up. You're just like, oh, that's Superman. Yeah. That is Superman. So I mean,
plus there's nothing wrong with the John Williams score.
Oh, let me tell you, that is still. I mean, the music says Superman. You know what I mean? It's like when you hear it and you hear the build up to the music. I mean, you're just like, oh my goodness, that's amazing. And I love that score. That score is amazing. I had that on I actually had the score on a cassette tape.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had the score on a cassette tape.
Yeah, that takes one or two of us back to a much simpler time. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, wow.
I mean, everything is still out there. You can get stuff on. I mean, heck, vinyl is still around. There's people out there selling vinyl, so there's nothing wrong with it. You got Laserdisc, anything else that may come to mind. So, yeah, Superman and all those films. Yeah, completely hear you, man. Any other titles you want to rattle off?
In terms of, I think, movies that were like,
or TV series, either one.
TV series that were particularly impactful. I really enjoyed when the CW first started rolling out their shows. I really enjoyed. I think out the gate,
Arrow,
man.
Yeah.
I mean, that was. I mean, because the thing was this. For me, I was already missing Smallville.
Yeah.
So I mean,
there was a void.
There was a big void, and Smallville had kind of their own run at the Justice League in the show. So they had the Flash, they had Arrow, they had Cyborg, so they had
Aquaman.
They had Aquaman. So they had a number of the characters, and they had Canary. So they had a number of the characters in there. So you're like, when they started to do it wasn't the Arrowverse at the time; it was just Arrow. When they're doing Arrow and they started introducing some of the other characters as well, I was like, okay, this is cool. I'm enjoying this. It was very kind of a dark show. It
was, it really was. Those early seasons. I mean, the entire 8-year run that Arrow had in retrospect, it was considered to be one of the more darker and grittier shows on television at that time. But the early seasons of Arrow, for me anyway, were definitely the best. I kind of lost track after season 3, or I think it was like after season 3 or 4 when it became the Felicity show.
Yeah.
I thought, you know what? I'm done with this. I don't need this. The character of Felicity is annoying me to no end. It's like, get out of here. Don't you have something else to do? Seriously.
Yeah, it kind of lost its way.
But that's just me. I don't mean to start a whole thing in the comments. But if anyone else has thoughts on the CW verse, let us know, and we'd like to hear from you. If you have any questions for John, let us know. We'd love to hear from you. But yeah, no. early seasons are good stuff. Legends of Tomorrow was good. Flash was
yeah.
good. Some of the other ones were good, but I'm thinking, man, somewhere along the way, it just I think one of the things for me, it's like now that there's too many, kind of boggles my head a little bit. I'm thinking, man, I can't keep up with all this. I got to like make choices.
Yeah, I agree. And it's like you said, there's, and then you get into the whole multiverse thing, and
oh my gosh,
I'm like, I want to enjoy the show, and I just want, you want to have a good time, and I'm like, this is getting a little bit, it's getting a little bit much
convoluted, maybe a little redundant.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, but I appreciated that because I can remember as a kid, there was a Spider-Man show that came out. There was a Captain America show that came out. And, as a kid, I thoroughly, they're working with the technology that they have to bring these heroes to bear. I mean, the best of those shows was the Hulk, because Lou Ferrigno was a beast, and all you needed to do was paint the dude green. That's all you had to do.
Bill Bixby looks into the camera, his eyes turn green, and then automatically it switches to Lou Ferrigno. There you go. Next shot.
Exactly. They just showed like Lou flexing and ripping the shirt, and that's all you need. So I mean, it's
breaking
like
boards, breaking chairs.
Yeah.
the whole nine.
So I mean, it's like you're working with whatever technology you have. So I mean, it's like, those shows. For me, it's been fun watching how the shows have kind of progressed. But at the end of the day, the shows always come down to the characters. I mean, what made the Hulk, made the show, I think, a show that lasted so long was, I mean, you had the Hulk, but it was really the plight of Bill Bixby. It was really the plight of Dr. Banner.
Yeah, definitely.
And you have this guy, and he's kind of going from, small town to small town. He's on the run. He's trying to be helpful, but it's, he ends up finding himself in a mess, trying to help somebody out. And you realize, and then he's got to go on the run again. And I know it's kind of a formula, but it's something that you're like, you know what? I feel for this guy.
Yeah. A lot of emotion, a lot of vulnerability during the course of that program, and within the character Bill Bixby was playing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
there's a little part of me that wishes I could have been alive when those shows originally aired, so I could have been, introduced to a certain character. And I mean, granted, I was introduced to Marvel and DC. Like I said, I'm a '90s kid. Yeah. So when the animated series like Spider-Man and X-Men and Batman the Animated Series were killing it, and I mean killing it on Fox Kids, that's when I'm thinking,
that's a great introduction, though.
It is, because the '90s was a great decade. #facts. So. I mean, you had Spider-Man, X-Men, Batman. That's how I was introduced to certain comic book characters. But in the beginning, I was introduced to them through, and I think a lot of people would agree with this. You were introduced to it, whether it be the Christopher Reeve Superman movies, whether it was the Michael Keaton Batman films.
Yeah,
I mean, those films just like knocked me on my keister, especially Tim Burton's first Batman film. I can watch that all day, all night, and not get tired of it.
That movie is amazing. And the anticipation, the crazy thing about that is I remember the anticipation for that movie. I mean, we were anticipating that movie for like a year and a half.
Batmania, as they called it.
It was insane. I had the black T-shirt with the Michael Keaton Batman sign on it. I mean, symbol. I was ready to go. And everything, when you think about that movie, I mean, that movie was amazing. And I mean, every regard. I mean, from the Danny Elfman soundtrack to the Prince soundtrack to, I mean, it's like, I mean,
you may look at it, you may think it's a bit goofy, but for the time it was working, and Prince was a big name back then, and to a certain degree still is now.
Oh man, it was amazing. And having the music of Danny Elfman, having the music of Prince, you having Jack Nicholson playing the Joker. I mean, it's like, it was phenomenal. And the crazy thing about it at that point, the biggest question mark was really Michael Keaton, because at that point he'd only been doing comedy.
That's right.
He'd been doing comedy up to that point. I remember the big thing was like, why are they having this comedian play Bruce Wayne? Everyone was scared that, are they going to make it like full Adam West mode? Yeah. What are they going to do? But they did an amazing job, with that film. And also, I think, oh man, why is the director's name slipping my mind?
You mean Tim Burton?
Tim Burton. He's always had that. I mean, he has that dark element
Yeah.
You know,
Gothic style.
like, oh man, and it worked perfectly.
Yeah.
You know, for the
I
film.
would
I
say
love the
so.
first two. I love the first two.
There you go. Perfect. And you know, the holidays are right around the corner. So if you want a Christmas movie, watch Batman Returns.
There you go.
There's a lot of snow.
There's a lot of
Christmas trees being blown up. There's a few things going on. And then a girl does a couple of backflips, looks at two guys and just says, meow.
Meow.
And then everything just blows up behind you. You're thinking, okay, this is about to go to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But I digress. A few people here in the chat. Thank you for joining us. Wonders of Ellie, Brian Wensloff. Good to see you, pal. So, John, we've talked so much about comic book movies and TV series, but now I'm really curious.
Yes.
When did you decide to become a comic book writer?
Okay, so, you know, growing up, I always, you know, like I said, it was the first medium that I loved.
Right.
So I was always writing and I was always drawing.
There you go.
You know, I had an opportunity. I was in school. I was actually in Los Angeles. I was at USC, and a buddy of mine, Motown had an animation. Motown had a division in Los Angeles. And for those of you that are familiar with Los Angeles, there's kind of the Mid-Wilshire district, which is kind of where the La Brea tar pits are. That's kind of where their office was. And a buddy of mine had gotten a job at Motown who had set up an animation division. And he came on board as an editor. And he was able to get me on board as a gopher. So Michael Davis, who's one of the dudes that's one of the founders of Milestone, he put this deal together with Barry Gordy and the guys over at Motown. So I was able to, you know, I had all these ideas, all these things I wanted to do, Ryan. And you know, Michael's like, that's great. I'm glad you have all these great ideas, but what I need you to do is give me some coffee. That's what I need you to do. I need you to go get these donuts. That's what I need you to do. So, you know, so I, you know, I had a whole bunch of ideas, and I got to really know a number of the artists and the writers well. So we would get together sometimes after. Okay, this will tell you that this was a 90s thing. So Doom was a big game at the time.
Yeah.
So, but like the internet didn't really exist as it does now. So we would go into the office at Motown and we would connect on computers internally, and we would play Doom. So we would leave work, we would go hang out, we'd come back to work after everybody left.
That's right.
And we would get on the network and we would start playing Doom together. You know, so these guys like Chris Sotomayor, who's a colorist over at Marvel, he's been there for a number of years. This is really where he got his first real gig as a colorist. And he was part of Mike Davis's studio, which was called Bad Boys before Puffy had his Bad Boys. Bad Boys, which was the art studio in New York.
Sure.
And so some of those guys, Brett Lewis, who wrote some other really cool stuff, like a book called Winterman, and he also wrote oh my goodness, why am I blanking out on this? Because it was made into a movie. Okay, it'll come back to me. But Brett Lewis and some other guys. So I started doing some editing work for the books, but I still really wanted to write. And then one of the books called Troubleman, which an artist named Chuck Drost, it was his creation, but I would work with him just on the story side because he was more of the artist and it was his property, but I would help him with ideas and things of that nature. Well, the guy who was supposed to actually write the book, he ghosted. And the thing is, the solicitation was already in Diamond.
Right.
So the clock is already ticking. You need to get the books finalized. A lot of the art was already done, but the story wasn't where it needed to be. So my boss, Michael Davis, he came to me. I'll never forget. It was on a Thursday, and he said, "Well, listen, John, you know, and I've been here for over a year, and all I'm doing is coffee, donuts, go get this, go do that, a little bit of editing work, but just kind of hanging out with the guys playing Doom."
Right.
And then he's like, "Listen, I need the script for Troubleman issue #1 on my desk on Tuesday."
Oh.
And he's like, you know, no pressure. He's like, but you know, you don't get this to me on Tuesday. He's like, you don't have to worry about ever working in this industry again. And he was kind of like a jokey, no jokey guy. You know.
Yeah.
So he didn't find this out till years later. I had already written so much material for TROUBLEMAN because I've been working with Chuck.
Sure.
So basically, went home, dusted off the material, spoke with Chuck, probably had everything really nailed down by Friday. But you know, I gotta play it up. So then I show up on Tuesday acting like I haven't slept in the whole nine. Provide him with the script, and you know, he's like, "Okay, this doesn't suck." So you know, so I was like, "Thanks." I think so. That was the first time I was published. Motown Animation, their label was called Motown Machineworks. They had a distribution deal with Image at the time. So 3 issues of TROUBLEMAN. I wrote those. Those were the first published works that I had. And then kind of from there, you know, I did some freelance work here and there, but not enough to make it a full-time gig. So, you know, at that point I continued to write, but you know, I'm working a full-time job. But then I started having some other ideas. I had an idea about something that I wanted to submit. And actually I was, at the time, Ben Abernathy was one of the editors over at DC, and I gotten to know him, you know, just over time. And I had some stuff that I wanted to pitch. So I was going to pitch some stuff over to Ben. And then I kind of realized that this was a story I wanted to keep. So, you know, and that's kind of how I ended up with Black Tiger. You know, I kind of had some ideas, and then I said, you know what, I want to go in a different direction with this property. And my now wife, she was my then fiance. We went to, we went up to, oh man, I was up past, why am I blanking out? Up past Malibu, Santa Barbara for vacation. And I had just one of those epiphanies, and we would just stay at a bread and breakfast. So we would hang out. We would, like, you know, just hang out by the pool. We would read, and I wrote, and I basically put together a story arc that was Black Tiger. And then from there, we're like, okay, well, I've worked in a comic book company, but I have not done all these different jobs. I know how they work, but you know, I can't pencil. You wouldn't want me to. Can't ink, can't color. So then started going through the process of, okay, now we need to get some freelance folks. We set up a company, get some freelancers that I had, you know, some that I already knew in the industry and others that I just kind of met, start working on the project, and just trial by fire. Started making Black Tiger.
Goodness gracious. Now you brought up Black Tiger. So we have this image here.
Yes.
Can you give us an idea of what exactly is happening in these images and what exactly is Black Tiger?
So you know, Black Tiger is, so when you think of Batman, you think of the mantle of the Batman. You really think of Bruce Wayne. I mean, there are other people that have held the mantle, but really it's Bruce Wayne's mantle. Black Tiger, think of it as a mantle that's been held by different people over thousands of years. So it's a power that's been handed down, you know, generationally. So you get to today, and the book prior to this one is what really sets the stage for kind of Black Tiger in modern day. So this is Jen Fong. She's an assistant DA by day. At this point, she has actually acquired the power of the Black Tiger. This is a really fun image. This is the interior artist, Rod Looper. He's the one that penciled this image. And Charles Oak, who goes by Artesita, he's the one that just beautifully colored this image. And what this represents is kind of some of the, I guess, some of the challenges in Black Tiger Hidden Dragon that you'll see Black Tiger up against. You see this enormous tiger that's manifesting behind her. So the front cover is a view looking at her with this dragon manifesting, this giant dragon manifesting behind her. And then the back cover, which is the image on the right for the book, the back cover is, you see what she's looking at. So she's looking at the organization called the Five Fingers of Death. So the guy up front, he is a British pugilist.
You have a shinobi there with the swords. Next to the shinobi, you have the leader of the group, the Screamador, who's a Filipino stick fighter. You have above him Agbu Madu, who is an African wrestler. And then next to Agbu Madu up top is a character called the Touch of Death. So these are 5 deadly assassins. And you'll get to learn more about the objective. I mean, of course, assassins' objectives are to kill folks, but why? You know, who they're working for, who they're in the employ of, and how this ties into the adventure for Black Tiger. Because there's a volume prior to Hidden Dragon called Legacy of Fury, and that is 6 issues. It is 130. I think it's in total. It's 172 pages to the book, and you can get it in one graphic novel. And it lays the groundwork for how Jin becomes the Black Tiger. Actually, her father was a prior Black Tiger, and her father is murdered. So and he gets defamed as the Black Tiger, but he also gets defamed in his day job as a cop. So there's definitely an attack against him, but attack against his family. So Jin, she takes up the mantle reluctantly, but she's doing it for the sake that she's now under attack as the new recipient of the Black Tiger. She needs to figure out who killed her dad and defamed her dad, and who's coming after her now. So it's partly a detective story. It's partly, you know, I love all kinds of different genres. So you have some kind of American mafia elements to it. I'm a big Hong Kong film fan. So you know the martial arts elements. I love that. And that's the beauty of comics, is you can really do a hodgepodge. You can bring different genres together, and you know, and really kind of you can suspend your belief and really work in a world that is a completely unique world. So there's metahumans in this world. You already see kind of the mystical elements with the dragon. There's you know, a lot of the kind of gritty, you know, gangsterish type of elements in the world as well. So she's street level plus in terms of what kind of a hero that she is.
Well, that sounds pretty doggone awesome, if I do say so myself. Now, those 2 images are great, but if you want to get a little bit more of a taste of what this character is all about, take a look at this.
Yes, sir.
Tiger.
I've had somebody ask me.
SmackDown right there, isn't
Yeah,
she?
yeah. I've had somebody ask me. You know, you didn't have any. You know, there was no. I didn't really speak over the video. You know, sometimes the videos you'll have kind of descriptors, and I said, you know what, this video, just her feet and fists.
The actions speak louder than the words.
That's doing all the speaking right there.
Well, it looks pretty cool, and congratulations to you and your team for putting this together. Because Black Tiger, Hidden Dragon, that sounds, excuse the language a little bit, but that just sounds badass.
Thank you, man.
Look forward to reading more of that as the story and the saga of Black Tiger continues.
Yes.
Yeah. So, what would you say are some of the rewards of being a comic book writer?
You know, it's a medium that I love. So this is really the first medium that I fell in love with, and I've kind of gone full circle, because being a comic book a dude that loved the comics back in the day before you really saw the heroes brought to the screen,
I always had the imagination. Like there were some cartoons, and these were like really kiddie cartoons. You had an idea, man. I would love to see what this looks like on the screen. And we've kind of gone full circle. And now I'm like, well, you know what? There's something about comics, because between panels, you're filling everything in. You're the one that you're animating the story yourself. And I can remember the first time I was watching Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And they had an episode where the X-Men came on.
Ooh.
And this is the first time the X-Men had ever been animated. So you have ideas of what people sound like and all these kind of things. And then I remember hearing Wolverine's voice. And I was like, I didn't expect that. But it was actually pretty cool, because because the films have never played him as French Canadian. But he actually had a French Canadian accent in the cartoon. And it kind of I was like, yeah, the dude is French Canadian. He doesn't just sound like I sound like right now when I'm talking. I mean, it's like, I think one of the things that I love about comics is you have an idea in your head what things sound like. Like when you're watching a show, it's all laid out there for you.
Yeah.
And what I love coming back to comics is you're part of the creative process. If you read a comic, it's just like reading a book. When you read a book, the author has laid kind of the groundwork. It has given you this whole, it's almost like a buffet, but at the end of the day, it's like, what do these different characters really sound like? What is it, you're doing that in your own head. And that's what I love. I think what I love so much about coming, I've never left comics, but like really being focused on comics again is just like, I love how every individual reader is going to have a different take slightly on how they perceive the characters, how they, what does that character's voice sound like? What is that, and I think that's part of the fun.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. Reading books is great. Reading comics with all those images, and granted, it's great when your imagination's running wild, but when you have a comic book and you actually see what the characters look like, you can kind of picture or kind of listen to what that character may or may not sound like in your mind while you're reading the comic, while enjoying the story overall. We're talking with John Hervey of Beyond Time Comics here on And I Quote. Make sure you're sharing this video with all 700 of your friends. They're going to like the way they look after watching this video. I guarantee it. If you have any questions for John, let us know in the live chat. Let us know in the comments section, I should say. And don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel when you have the opportunity to do so. Every little bit helps, and it takes teamwork to make the dream work. As they all know, a rising tide raises all ships.
Yes, indeed.
So what would you say are some of the challenges of being a comic book writer here, John?
Definitely, I'll start with from a creative standpoint, from the production side.
Yeah.
I have some editors, but like you're also, you don't have, it's not like I have a staff. So it's like I've got my wife is an amazing editor. I've got some other friends from the industry that are editors, and I think it's just making sure that I'm not getting lost in my own story, almost to speak, because like if you don't have a sounding board, sometimes there are things that I know about the story that haven't always been articulated. And you want to make sure that you're telling a coherent story, but you also don't want to be giving away everything at the same time. So there's value to wise counsel. I'll just put it that way. And it's easy in comics not to have that, because you can just sit down at your desk and you write it, and then you hire an artist, and the artist is going to execute what you're doing, and then you realize that, like, man, I've just kind of, it's not like you have a group of yes people, but these folks, you've hired them, and you may not get the pushback that you need. I've been very fortunate. My artists have been very honest with me. They've been, and I try to have an environment where you get that healthy pushback. An artist will be like, hey, John, the way you wrote this, I can see that, you had like a scene running through your head like a movie, but this isn't gonna plan out. This isn't gonna pan out well in terms of how it's gonna work in a sequence. So it's like the way I look at myself as a writer, like a writer and a director. and then an artist is like the cinematographer. So I let the artist know that, like, listen, I don't. So some people say, hey, do you write the Marvel way, which is basically just make the artist do all the work in terms of staging everything. I don't do that, but the reason why I lay everything out is I want the artist to know what I'm thinking. Because once the artist knows what I'm thinking, then like a good cinematographer, oh, I know what you're trying to do, but I've got a better way to do what you're trying to do. Mm-hmm. Or, hey, that's actually a decent way to do that. Or that's a terrible way to go about that. But you need that because you want that before you're producing the book. You want that before the book gets in people's hands and they're just like, yeah, you know what? I thought that was weird. No, tell me ahead of time, let's do this, let's handle all the production, and creative kind of stuff up front so that when we're delivering the book, we're delivering something that everybody's like, hey man, this is fun and this is good.
No, I hear you. At the end of the day, teamwork does indeed make the dream work. Is what you're getting at. Any special memories for you from being at conventions or other events, whether you're there as a vendor or there as an attendee?
Oh man, events. I miss shows, man. They're so fun. Both as an attendee and as someone that's at a booth. I think one of the funniest things. So back in the day, before San Diego Comic-Con was really, really big, back when it was a fan show. I mean, San Diego Comic-Con had fanboys and booth babes. That was it back in the day. And I remember going to one table and Mike Mignola was there.
Oh, Hellboy.
Nobody was around the dude. This was before Hellboy blew up.
Oh, okay.
But it was still a big deal for comic nerds, but it wasn't a movie yet.
Right.
So I knew Mike Mignola, and I got to spend like 10 minutes talking with him. Cool dude. He's like, hey, let me sketch you something. I'm like, so cool, right? So what would you like me to sketch? Any sane person would say Hellboy, right? But I have to defend myself here. I said Batman. But the reason why was Mike Mignola did a Batman annual that I still have.
Oh, okay.
And it was almost like a Halloween special, but I had never seen Batman rendered in this way, and it looked so amazing to me. I mean, it was Mignola's style, and it was such a well-written story that's where my head was. I mean, to this day, my friends are like, I can't believe you got a sketch from Mike Mignola and you had him draw Batman, dude. It's like, seriously? But that was a fun, but a lot of fun memories because just a lot of good people. Even when we would be at the convention with a booth, you get to meet a lot. You start seeing a lot of the same people, so you kind of start to build community. So a number of folks, you see them on an annual basis, and it's like it becomes just like your buds. You're like, hey man, and then if somebody doesn't show up, you're kind of like, hey, where was so and so?
So it's like a family.
It really is. It really is, and it's and it's been fun watching how things have evolved. I mean, it's been really watching the cosplayers come into the universe.
Oh my gosh.
And just what a whole nother element that brings to just everything. I mean, it's like I've learned about some properties just by like, who are you? Yeah, you know what I mean?
I didn't know this
awesome.
person until San Diego came out. There you go.
I'm like, this costume is awesome. Who are you? Then you realize that like there's something else awesome out there that you knew nothing about.
Yeah, that is for sure. You never know who you're going to meet at a respective convention. You're never going to know when an idea is going to strike you.
Yes.
During certain events and things like that. Brian Wensloff is here. He's in the chat. He says, some people want everything now. I love it when stories are spread out organically in the comics.
Amen to that, my friend.
Brian, good point. He also says, I grew up in San Diego, and I remember those old school 90s SDCC days. So you're not alone in this department here, John.
That's awesome. And those were, I mean, San Diego Comic-Con is amazing. And if someone has not gone, they need to go because
it's on my list.
Let me tell you, bro.
It's on my list.
It is such an event now.
It's WrestleMania.
On steroids. I mean,
yeah, that's what I've been told. It's like it is the World Series. It's the WrestleMania. It's the Stanley Cup Finals of Comic-Cons.
I mean, there is nothing like it. And the thing is, it also has a lot to do with kind of how downtown San Diego is structured. I mean, it's like,
Sure.
you know, you're just packing hundreds of thousands of folks
In that convention center.
and the convention center, and you have San Diego is an amazing city, and it's like it's not like a lot of other cities where you have like all this you don't have like McDonald's and all this kind of stuff. I mean, it's like they have a bunch of like, of whether the restaurants are just family owned businesses. So I mean, it's like it's such a different vibe there, that you're just like I can't really.
Yeah,
it's hard to just to pinpoint it, but it's just like Comic-Con takes over downtown San Diego.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I've seen pictures. I've seen video of the mosh pits, people lining up to get into Hall H at 2 a.m. just so they can get in there at 11 a.m. It's absolutely insane. By the way, Keisha Acuff, she says, hello, beautiful people.
Hey,
Keisha. How are you? Keisha, you awesome-tacular person. Everyone here in the chat is awesome. I just want to point that out. We're not playing favorites.
That's right.
Not playing favorites. So the next set of questions I have here for you, John, these are going to be kind of rapid fire here, these next set of questions. This episode of And I Quote and every episode of And I Quote are powered by Poddex. Poddex are unique interview questions and episode starting prompts in the palm of your own hand.
Nice.
So whether you're a new podcaster or you're an existing broadcaster looking to grow your audience, get more engagement, you're going to want to check out poddex.com. Make sure you use the promo code Nerd Culture to get 10% off your order. You're not going to want to miss it. I guarantee it. So, John,
yes, sir.
What's the most annoying bill that you have to pay?
Ooh, man, most annoying bill. I guess this shows that my wife's the one that pays the bills.
Spoilers.
I know, spoilers.
Okay.
I'll go with. It's so generic just to say like the water bill or like.
It's okay.
That's so generic, but I'm gonna.
It's okay. That's fine. Any answer you wish to bring up is fine with us here in the studio.
Yeah.
Which magazine would you like to be on the cover of?
Can it be a comic book magazine?
Absolutely. It could be anything. Anything you want. Just let your imagination run wild a little bit here.
I would say Sports Illustrated, but I'm not enough of an athlete to be on Sports Illustrated.
That's okay. Hey, listen, people can dream, right?
Exactly.
We do it all the time. We do it every day, 24/7. Some of us more than
Too
others.
old and not athletic enough.
I'm just saying. By the way, you know what? Brian chimes in. He says, if I'm going to be on the cover of any magazine, he says I want to be on the cover of Rolling Stone. Good luck with that, Brian.
There you go.
Good luck with that, Brian. I'm just saying. But anywho, gee willikers. So here for you, John, what is the main thing that influences your decisions?
I'd say I have to go with my Christian beliefs.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Nothing wrong with that, good sir. Do you have a favorite thing that you do for a girls' or a guys' night out when you have the time? Or maybe it's a date night.
My wife
thing.
and I we're kind of foodies, because like everything that we do is around food. I mean, so it's like if we're gonna go on a date night, we're gonna go get something to eat. Recently, since at least in Texas, theaters have been opening back up.
Oh, there you go.
You can go to they've had some theaters where you can eat. So we need to do that. I want to do that, but everything is always intertwined with food, for better or for worse.
Everything is always intertwined with food. Nothing wrong with that. They developed a channel out of it. It's called the Food Network. So
there you go.
If you and the missus want to watch something on television, if people still do that, feel free to check out Food Network. And no, they did not pay me to say a word about anything about their shows or their channel or anything. I just know that sometimes it makes an appearance on my television with my roommates that I'm currently living with.
But they should pay you. They should pay you.
I guess maybe. Should we give them a call after the show? Maybe I should send them an email. I don't know.
Just saying, hey, just send them a bill. Hey, I endorsed you on my show.
Maybe we should. I don't know. We'll have to give them a shout.
They may pay it. Just send it to the payables group. You never know what'll happen.
That's a fair point. We may want to chime in with them backstage after the show. Brian chimes in. He says, John, you're my kind of guy. Nicole Marie Jobin, a.k.a. Brian's wife, and I are foodies ourselves.
Awesome.
Oh.
Awesome. I'm telling you,
Maybe
it makes life that much better.
Does it, though?
I think it does.
Possibly.
You know, but I'm very biased.
You're very biased. Get out of here, bud. It's all good. So how about this one? What's the biggest lie that you once believed was actually true?
Santa Claus.
There you go. And the holiday season is just around the corner. Sorry, we just spoiled something for you.
I know. You know what? You know what? Anybody out there believes, keep believing. Don't stop believing.
Keep the faith is what you're saying.
Hey, don't stop believing. Just like Journey says.
It's like I was gonna say.
Don't
You mentioned those.
believing.
You mentioned those 3 words, and I'm thinking that's a bar song, isn't it?
That-
yes,
that-
it is. Because every time I've been to karaoke before the world kind of ended a few years ago,
Yes.
that was the song that most people would come in with and sing. It was like the first or second song off the deck. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Jeez.
That's
Here's
that's
another
part
one
of
for you.
my that's part of my my 80s-ishness is
And there's
Journey.
nothing wrong with that.
Love Journey.
Hypothetically, if you were to go out to karaoke now, what's the first song you're going to sing in front of millions of people?
I'd need a partner to sing it, but it would be Easy Lover with that was a song, and how am I forgetting the artist from the guy from Genesis?
Is it Phil Collins?
Phil Collins.
Yeah.
And
is there another artist?
Yeah, it was a duet. It was Phil.
Oh,
Collins,
so was it Phil
and-
Collins and Peter Gabriel?
Not Peter Gabriel.
It wasn't Peter Gabriel.
It was
Anyone know
I
this?
think it was the guy that sang Caribbean Queen. I remember the songs. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, if anyone knows this person's or individual's name that we're trying to speak of, let us know in the chat. I'd be very curious to hear what your thoughts on this is. Gee Willikers. Okay,
Yeah.
Easy Lover's a go, and she's an easy lover. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was.
You mentioned Phil Collins. I got to jump in there because I like Phil Collins. I like Phil Collins.
My wife
a
helped me out. Billy Ocean. Phil
that's
Collins
who it
and
is.
Billy Ocean.
Okay, Billy Ocean. We're gonna.
Yes, my wife with the assist.
There you go. Thank you so much to the missus who is
Yes.
sitting backstage, and enjoying the show. We hope.
Indeed.
Well, we want to take this opportunity to say thank you to John Hervey for being our guest on this week's episode of, and I quote, John, thank you so much for being with us. What projects do you have coming up, and where can everyone find you online?
All right, so you can find me online at Beyond Time INC, right there in the right there. So you can find me there on Instagram and on Twitter and on YouTube, and you can find me on Facebook at Beyond Time Comics. I have 2 projects currently. One is Black Tiger Hidden Dragon, which is actually, the campaign is still available. We should be fulfilling that because we're going to the printers, and that's it's a 92 page graphic novel that'll be going to the printers. Wow, it's almost okay. November, which is tomorrow. So, but not tomorrow, but in the month of November, it's going to the printer. And so that book will be fulfilling before the end of the year. And we have a campaign called Magna and the Posse, which currently has a mailing list. Check it out. If you love mythology, and a little bit of World War II action, you'll love Magna. And if you like a street level story that I say is kind of I don't know, it will be like Heroes for Hire meets meets Batman meets Boys in the Hood. So it's a lot of street level action, but some kind of fun citywide adventures as they're trying to save their city.
There you go. Thank you very much, John Hervey, for being on with us. My name is Ryan of Neuroculture. You can follow us on all forms of social media simply at It's Neuroculture. Don't forget to go to poddex.com. Use the promo code Neuroculture to get 10% off your order. Pick up your own set of pod decks. You're not going to want to miss that. And also, don't forget to check out our good friends over at HWWS Web TV. They got a great gamut of shows led by a number of great individuals, including Brian Wensloff, who was with us in the chat just a moment ago. He's on the show known as Reels and Heels, talking about pro wrestling and
Nice.
movies. Those are 2 things that go together quite well. Am I right, Maybe to you who may be watching this at home. I don't know, but I'll leave that up to you. But in the meantime, stay healthy, stay strong, stay safe, watch movies, read comics, support your local comic shops, support indie creators of all shapes and sizes. And one more thing. If in case we don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Take care.
I'm GW Pomacher.
I'm Dina Marie.
I'm Sage Ia.
I'm Thomas Carter Rochester.
Hey, I'm David Thompson.
Hi, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Mia.
Hi, I'm Mark.
Hey there, this is Dave Adams.
Hi, I'm Rosemary Rose.
Jerome Conner here.
Hey guys, it's Josh Bauer.
It's Willow Schuyler.
I'm Cosplay Michael.
I'm Brava.
It's your boy Country.
I'm Ryan Permison.
And I'd like to ask you guys,
please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please
subscribe.
Subscribe.
Please subscribe to HWWS
Web TV.
Great bunch of people.
And don't forget to smash the bell.
Ring that bell.
Smash that bell.
Hit that bell.
Hit the bell to be notified.
Hit the bell to get notified of new shows
and videos.
You're going to want to do that, so do that soon.
So we can cross that 20,000 mark.
And get us to 100,000 subscribers.
To 1 million, and 10 million, and 100 million.
On HWWS.
Web TV.
You really like it, I guarantee it.